Family Gamers podcast. This is episode 377.
Hey, hello everybody. Super excited to be back here to bring you another episode of the Family Gamers podcast. We missed a week, and I'm going to say that we missed a week because there was someone we had to drag along.
That's part of it. We were out of the studio, and our guest was also not available, so we just pushed it off a week. So welcome to Nick Martinelli.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for coming on the show, Nick. Nick is here because he is, as some of you may know, our GenCon roving reporter. He was looking at games while we were stuck getting wet in the woods, basically.
Glad I wasn't there with you, no offense.
Yeah, my gosh. I think you got the better end of that stick. So
I think so, too.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't camp.
Let's get right into the show. I do have a fact for this episode 377. Anitra, it is Olympic season. You may be aware of this.
Yes, I am aware of the Olympics, although I don't think I've intentionally watched any of it.
So I felt like it was a time for records. It is Olympic season, so I thought I'd go to the record book. What do you think of that?
Sure.
This is not a sports record, however. This is a record set by a company called Proof Pilot in Orlando, Florida in February 2023. This is a record of the most people at one time in a crowd wearing aviator sunglasses. The number, of course, is 377.
Frankly, that seems low.
I kind of felt the same way. I was like, I feel like there should be like an extra zero in there.
But this also feels like it was some kind of promotional thing for a sunglasses company. So, I get it.
Yeah, I guess they hired a guy that was dressed up like Tom Cruise from Top Gun, walking around getting people all hyped up. It was like a whole event thing.
Yeah.
But Guinness Book of World Records says that that's the record. February 7th, 2023, 377 people wearing aviator sunglasses.
All right, man.
Yeah, sorry. Nothing good.
Well, maybe better will be a message from our sponsor. As a reminder, First Move has been letting us know how they would work with a young family earning a combined $100,000 with a net worth of about $25,000 and the goal of buying a home in the next few years. When you're preparing to buy your first home, there is a lot to learn and what usually feels like very little time to do it. The main thing you want to have a handle on is what you can afford for a monthly payment. The easiest way to make sure you can afford your estimated payment is to try it out. Take the difference between your rent and your expected payment and put that into savings. Next, you need to make sure that your credit is in good shape. You can pull your credit reports for free from annualcreditreport.com and see what potential creditors will see when they pull your credit. Start making progress paying down existing debts, dispute any debts that aren't yours, and then when you're ready, you can take a first-time homebuyer's course. Then start talking to a realtor and begin to determine next steps on your home ownership journey. If you've got questions about home ownership, debt, or any other financial question, go to firstmovefinancial.com/familygamers. There you can set up a quick free phone call to see if First Move is a good fit for you.
All right. And with that, I think, Nick, it is time to talk about some games that we've been playing. So you were surrounded by 60,000 of your best friends in board gaming last weekend. Surely you've played some good stuff. So let's do, 2 games each. Maybe we'll go round robin one at a time. How's that sound? All right. Let's do it. What do you got, Nick?
All right. Sticking with some Gen Con games. So one of the ones I had to pick up that I was fortunate enough to pick up was one from 21st Century Games called Sausage Sizzle.
I saw some social stuff about that, yeah.
Yeah, Inca and Marcus Brand. So it's an older game, I believe, that got brought back. So the premise is that you're having a sausage sizzle. If you're not familiar with what a sausage sizzle is in Australia, it's just basically a hot dog, but instead of a hot dog bun, they actually just put it on plain white bread.
Sure.
So it's a thing down there. I have friends down there. They enjoy it. They like it better than American hot dogs, apparently, but it's just a beef hot dog on a piece of white bread. So
beef hot dog is the best hot dog.
Right. Yeah. So in the game, you're basically having a sausage sizzle. You're grilling up the hot dogs, and these little furry creatures are catching all the smells and want to come and try to steal those sausages. So, the premise of the game, you're going to be chucking dice, kind of Yahtzee style. There's animal dice that have 6 different animals on them. And you're going to roll, pick an animal, and then kind of commit to it. And then you're going to roll the other number dice and then just try to see how many points you can get with that animal. The interesting about the game is that animal can only be used once. So you're going to basically play 6 rounds. And so if I use the crocodile, I can't score the crocodile again. So then on future turns, if I end up rolling a lot of crocodiles, I may end up scoring less points. You're going to multiply, play animals by the number of dice. If I have 3 threes, so I'm going to do some easy math and then calculate my score there. And then the other trick, which is kind of neat, is the hot dog part. So the hot dogs are ones, So if you end up rolling hot dogs, that's going to hose you over because in the game, when you roll dice, if I rolled a bunch of, like, if I rolled 3 6s and I ended up having a hot dog, you're going to take whatever is the lowest of the dice that you commit. So I could hose myself and, get a low score for the round. So super cute, plays really fast, very accessible for kids. I'm looking forward to play with this with my family because they love dice games. You don't have to think very hard. There's not a ton of tough decisions. Just good old family, wholesome fun and a sausage sizzle. So that was my first, one of my favorites from Gen Con.
Neat.
Nice.
That sounds extra Yahtzee style, since once you've committed to using something, you can't use it in future rounds.
Yeah, it was cool. So you have these 6 different animals, and if you roll terrible, you may only end up, we had some interesting moments. We were playing with friends in the Lucas Oil Stadium that weekend night. One of my friends was having trouble. They kept rolling crocodiles, and they, come on, I only have, when you get down to, only have 1 or 2 animals left. If you don't have any animals accessible, if I rule a bunch of platypuses on a turn, I've already used it, well, then I may only have, one choice there. I might have a crocodile or have one of the other cute little fuzzy animals that are in the game. So you have to be really careful on what you're selecting and, as you go. The nice thing is Yahtzee style, so you can always re-roll and, hope you get more. But definitely a lot of fun. I was one of the ones I picked up day one.
Cool.
All right. What about you, Anitra? What are you going to pick on the list of shared games between you and me?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at the list we put together, and I'm like, oh, look, everything on this list I actually played with you.
Well, it's because I picked this list to be games that either of us could talk
that we
about.
had both played.
You're welcome.
We played a bunch of games camping, although you and I did not actually play very many of them together. But one that we did was a game called Renature. Our friend Dave brought this along. It was definitely the biggest, meatiest game that I played. It's sort of an area control game where you're laying these animal dominoes out around on paths and trying to surround little areas with the animal dominoes. You get to put trees in the areas that you touch, and then when an area gets completely closed off, basically who has the most valuable collection of trees and plants in there will get points. But it has the interesting twist of anytime there is a tie for plant value, the ties completely cancel out. So you could have the least in there and still get the most points if everybody else was equal.
The thing that makes this really interesting is that everybody has their own color plants that they can play, but there's also neutral plants. So when you're putting plants into these various areas, you can put neutral plants in to tie someone who's got a higher plant value than you to cancel them out, which is a pretty interesting tactic/technique in this game.
It was a neat thing that we discovered. I'm not sure I love it to seek it out and play it again, but I wouldn't mind playing it again.
I mean, that's okay. It's probably made by people you've never heard of. These two people named Michael Kiesling and Wolfgang Kramer. You've probably never heard of them. So
no name.
Not that big of a
designers.
deal. Yeah. I feel like I'm just going to grab the big one.
Go ahead.
We played Gnome Hollow.
Even though we weren't at Gen Con.
Yeah, the Gen Con darling. Gnome Hollow.
That was all over the place.
We got it to the table on Monday. Do you know anything about it at all?
A little bit. My friends demoed it. We were able to get into a table at the op, so I watched them for a couple rounds, but that was all over the place. They had the balloon artwork. They had the balloon art this year.
I saw videos of
they had that. The gnomes were marching. The balloon gnomes are marching all over the hallway and stuff. It was pretty cool. So it got a lot of buzz there. A lot of people were talking about it, and I saw a lot of boxes walking around.
So really interesting game. I don't know what mechanics you would call it. I guess there's some set collection going on. There's not really area control. You're controlling the rings, but I don't know what you would call that.
It's more like a temporary area control.
Yeah.
You can claim these little mushroom rings while you're in the process of building them, but you've only got 2 gnomes, so you're not ever going to be able to claim a bunch of rings at once.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to be careful about how you're spreading out around the board, and the mushrooms don't show up until the mushroom ring is completely closed off.
Yeah, so BGG calls it a worker placement game and a tile placement game, which I suppose is fine. So you're placing these tiles to make these mushroom rings. And when a mushroom ring is completed, whoever completes it, if you can put a gnome on it, and you get to collect all of the mushrooms that are in that mushroom ring. The mushrooms you want to collect to get as many as possible, because then you can cash those in for straight up points. But at the same time, you're trying to collect flowers, and the more flowers you collect, the more points. That's like a set collection thing, and it's not, sequential. So it's 1, 2, 5, 8, 13, 15, 20, 25, something like that. So you want to do that, but at the same time, you want to be the one to complete the rings, because you also get perks for completing the rings.
Including points.
So there's a lot of different things that you're trying to balance. I did horribly because our son was having a meltdown during this game, and I had to go keep dealing with him. But it was fun, and it was definitely adorable, and I'm looking forward to playing it some more.
It's one of those games where it looks cute, but it's definitely harder than it looks at first. I don't think it's a mismatch, but I do think it's maybe slightly misaligned with the way it looks from how much strategy you need to be able to play.
I think misaligned is a little strong. I mean, it's not a small box game, so,
right.
You open it up and you're like, okay, there's stuff going on.
It's just slightly off. I mean, this is like I expected Flamecraft to be heavier because of the art, and it ended up being a little simpler than I expected. I expected Gnome Hollow to be a little bit simpler than it is, but not by a lot. I still liked it a lot, and I'm looking forward to playing it some more.
Sure.
All right, how about you, Nick? One more?
My other one is Xylotar from Bezier Games. So it is a different style take, I should say, on a trick-taking game. And let me tell you, it is a table hog. It has a lot of cards. So the premise of the game, you have this like wicked 80s, like, keytar. They call it a xylotar, like xylophone. So you have these colored cards that have, music notes on them, and they're colors with numbers. So you'll deal out the whole deck to everybody that's playing, and then you get a hand of cards. You're going to sort them out, by number, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, etc. And then pass it off to your neighbors. So you'll kind of be able to hopefully remember the cards that you had passed over. And the trump suit in this game is red. So if I had a red 10 that I passed over, I got to remember that. So then when we're playing, and then I'm afraid somebody's maybe trump something that I played, then I oh, hey, I know they have a 10. So I'll know when to kind of time, my trump suit playing. So yeah, cool thing is the cards are kind of face down. So when you get the cards, you're going to display them in front of you, spread them out from lowest to highest, obviously. So you're going to have like this Xylotar, keyboard in front of you. And then you're going to start by flipping over a card and then go around the table, normal trick-taking style, and then trying to, Nitra, you played a 1 blue. Then I would need to also follow suit and play a blue card. So I'd flip over one, not knowing what it is. So it could be a 1 or it could be a 0, depending on where it is in the number line. So it's a very interesting game. We played it, lost track how many times I've looked back at stats. At least 3 to 4 times over the course of the weekend. It was a big hit. It's a great filler game. It's not a brain burner, trick-taking game like another one that I played over the weekend, but it's a lot of fun. It just takes up a lot of space on the table, so make sure you got a pretty good square table, and it plays great at 4 players. So I think that was one of our most played games, I think, at GenCon when we were just enjoying some relaxed time at night.
Nice.
Cool. I'm just going to mention in passing that we finally played Sagrada. Now that I'm back from visiting the Sagrada Familia, and it made me very happy to play the game. It cracked me up that I had talked to people on my trip about why I knew what the Sagrada Familia was, and I'm like, I'm a little embarrassed to say it's because of a board game, and then I explained about the game, and after we had gotten back, one of my friends texted me, and she's like, hey, my husband mentioned something about it. Was this the game you were talking about? I was like, yes, that is the game. Congratulations, you'll enjoy it.
So he did actually buy it?
I think he actually bought it for her, yeah.
Awesome. Now, did you play it with any expansions or just the core game?
No, it's been too long since we played it.
Technically, we played it with the 5 and 6 player expansion.
Oh, okay.
No, we didn't. We played with 4 players.
You played with 4 players? Okay.
We played with 4 players.
All right.
We didn't use anything special at all. But the one I wanted to talk a little bit more about was we also finally tried floating floors. So
are you cheating? Are you doing 2?
I was trying to shoehorn Sagrada in there.
Girls.
Floating floors, I was not expecting to be a dexterity game. And that is 100% what it is. It's a very strategic dexterity game. In floating floors, you are rolling dice to see what kinds of pieces you can pick up and then lay out on your turn. And you're basically laying out foundations for these little floor cards and then moving your little ninja guy across the floors to try to pick up special things all around the outside. But obviously everyone else is incentivized to not only get to their stuff first, but stop you from getting to yours. And so there's a lot of interesting little rules about where you can take pieces from and how you can put pieces down. But suffice to say, it's pretty easy to end up with a situation where you have a floor that is just perfectly balanced on only 2 supports, and you've got your little ninja on it, and you're like, well, poop. Now what do I do? As soon as I move in any direction, this floor is going to fall over, and I don't even get to be the one to set it back up. The next person around the table gets to set it back up for me, so they will probably continue to set it up in a way that is really hard for me to deal with. So that's my impression from the first time playing. We only played 2 players, me and Andrew, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to be with more players, but it's very mean. It's a very mean game.
Yeah.
Now I'm done.
And it's unusual. Like, it's not like most other games that we have. The last game that I'm going to talk about is a game called Secret Identity. This is another game that we have for review. Secret Identity is from R&R Games. This is kind of a party game. It plays 3 to 8 players. The idea is that you have 8 identities out on the board. Everybody takes a key secretly, and it has a number 1 to 8, which corresponds with one of the identities. Everybody has 10 cards in their hand. They're these little tiny, you kind of think like gum stick shaped cards. And there's 2 icons on each side. So each card has 4 icons on it. You have 10 of those. And you have a little board in front of you that allows you to put up to 3 clues down.
Yeah, Asher was saying it's
Up
you're
to
limited
3
to
clues down. You can either say my secret identity is like this icon or not like this icon. So you have up to 3. But the thing is, you only have 10 cards, and you have to do this for 4 identities over the course of the game. You never get new cards. So as the game goes on, it gets progressively harder to figure out what in the world people are trying to secretly tell each other. Because you get a point every time someone guesses your identity, and someone gets a point every time they guess your identity. So nobody's ever trying to like trash anybody else, because in order to help somebody else, you're helping yourself at the same time, which is actually something I really like about this game. It's got this like undercurrent of positivity. Like, nobody's rooting for anybody to do something wrong.
Right. I love that. Like, we're in competition, but I don't need to do anything to hold anybody else back. Literally, everybody is just trying to do the best they can.
Right.
All the time.
So I want to say there's something to the effect of like around 100 identity cards that are double-sided. So there's lots of people or things or whatever that you could potentially be, which is good because like a lot of them are like people our kids wouldn't know. So,
we had one round where we actually pulled out 8 cards in a row that all the kids do, and we were like, all right, great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, so I would put something down and be like, does anybody not know who this is? And then we just go to the next one. And it was pretty seamless. It wasn't that much of a problem.
Yeah, I liked that too.
Yeah, but as we go through 4 sets of identities, so the 8 identities come out, everybody has the whole round. You can get up to, like, if there were 5 players, you could get 8 points.
Yes, if everybody guessed you correctly and you guessed all other 4 players correctly.
Yeah. So then you wipe the whole board and you put out 8 new identities. So it's not like there's progressively more information out there or anything like that either. So that's Secret Identities. Honestly, it was better received than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
For what it was of a game. And looking forward to playing it again.
My biggest complaint is I'm getting old, and I was at the far end of the table, and it was hard to make out a bunch of the icons and some of the words. I don't think they were exceptionally small. I just think I was too far away, maybe? I don't know. We'll see if I can position myself better for that in the future.
That's what happens when you hit the 40 mark.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to talk about it.
All right, Andrew. I guess that's it. We've gone through 6 games, and we should probably move on.
Yeah, we should. This is the time in the show where we welcome our new community members.
Okay.
And I shared the list with everybody so we can all say hello. You want to start, Anitra?
Sure. We're happy to have all of you, but welcome to Sarah.
And welcome to Chris.
Welcome, Nathan Lowe.
Welcome to Elizabeth.
Welcome to Yesu.
Welcome to Elsa Chang Sim.
Welcome to Shannon.
And welcome to Rochelle. Thank you very much for joining the community. We hope that you have some fun things to talk about, some games that you've been playing, questions that you might have, and we gave you a horse with gloves on its ears, because why not?
I hope you enjoy the horse.
Yeah.
So, last time our backtalk question was about board game clubs. I mean, we were concentrating on school board game clubs, but really any discussion on that is great. And we had just a few responses on this one. Unfortunately, Peter says, we've been going to smaller private and hybrid schools, so no board game clubs here. I vaguely recall some chess clubs way back when I was a kid, but that was before any modern board games, except maybe the Avalon Hill ones.
Olivia was a little bit more positive. He said, 2 weeks ago, my city started having board game clubs on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights at 3 different libraries.
Wow.
Which I think is like the coolest thing ever.
Embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, right? People of 12 years old and up, or 8 years old if they are accompanied by their parent and can keep up with the games. The games usually last 15 to 40 minutes and can be taught in less than 5. The organizers have very small collections and play mass market games, and we're surprised to see people come in with 100-plus game collections, and they are super excited to learn new games. I went twice with my 8-year-old son, and we taught them Just One, Similo, Super Mega Lucky Box. Marvel Remix didn't go super well. It was too complex, and it was the first game someone else taught. I know Las Vegas and Captain Flip were also played at other tables.
Captain Flip!
Oh,
But nothing
Las
at my
Vegas.
son's elementary schools as far as board gaming clubs, as far as I know.
Those are all awesome choices. I mean, I would sit down
Yeah.
and play Just One or Similo or Super Mega Lucky Box
Yeah, for
or
sure.
Captain Flip or Las Vegas. Those are all awesome choices.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
just goes to show that Board Game Club can be a way to reach out and extend the hobby, even if you're not the person hosting the Board Game Club.
Good job, Olivia. Good job.
Good job.
Yeah, library's a good place to look. That's how I found the game club that I'm in. So, years ago, just happened to
Yeah.
pop up in my Facebook feed for the local library. I'm like, ooh. So check your local library, folks.
All right. So, at this point, it's the Nick show. Nick, tell us, give us 5-10 minutes about GenCon.
All right, where do we want to start? So I had some new friends come this year. They've never been, so that was, so I felt like that was pretty cool. Bringing some newbies to a mega convention like this. They've never been to a board game convention.
Oh man, they'd never been to any board game convention. They started with GenCon.
No, they started with GenCon. I mean, they go to our local board game meetup, and I think like a local game day at like a VFW that maybe have like 40, 50 people, but never been to a big convention. And so we piled in our friend's Honda Odyssey spot. We were teasing them. I felt like spoiler alert, Deadpool, but we all jumped in the white Honda Odyssey and traveled to GenCon together. Try to do some different stuff. One of my friends is a heavy shopper, so he was there to acquire some games. My other friends were there for the first time. They were interested in just demoing and playing and just checking out all the things you could see. Something different that we did this year that I've never done before, and we've kind of made a wordplay off the Family Gamers. We were calling ourselves the Frugal Gamers all weekend, and we kept saying we should do like an offshoot podcast of the Family Gamers, like a monthly show about the Frugal Gamers. But we're all deal hunters and deal shoppers, so we went to the used game consignment hall that they had. So we're talking at least there had to be at least 5,000 plus games. So imagine just tables upon tables loaded with used games.
Right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was intense. No order, no rhyme or reason, nothing in alphabetical order, nothing. Just everybody's dumping off their library or collection of games they don't want to play anymore. So we went there. That was, I think, it was the first afternoon we went. So we went day one, checked that out. Ended up finding some good ones. I ended up picking up a couple, older games. We're always at Gen Con, everything's about the hotness, what's new, but we were actually looking for some old, some classics, some favorites. So I was able to find an old copy of Fast Flowin' Forest Fellers, which is a game about racing logs down a river. So my buddy,
Friedman Freeze.
It is totally a Friedman Freeze because I almost stuttered saying it. It's really hard to roll off the tongue. So that was a cool one I picked up. That game's over 10, I think it's 10, 15 years old at this point. Found some other cool older games, a 1-2-player game called Burger Joint. So we were all picking up some older titles, just stuff that looked cool. So, we were burning up BGG on our phones, looking stuff up as we saw stuff that was neat. And then after that, they had a live auction going. And I've never actually been to an auction in my life, ever. So we paid $1 and popped over to the auction side. We happened to luck into like the family / fantasy game time where they were, auctioning off every hour. They do different stuff, RPG books, all kinds of stuff. So we sat for a little bit and just kind of, took that in. Unfortunately, when I was shopping on the other side, I heard like an older copy of Strike go up for sale, and I'm like, oh shoot! Like I wish I had a number I could have ran over and bid on it because I'd like to get the old copy of Strike. I have the newer version, but the other one's got kind of a cool bowl. But a friend of mine, she ended up picking up a copy of Snood and Shrink Arkham Horror Second Edition for $5.
Wow.
So we were all pretty happy. We walked out of there with a pretty decent stack apiece of some games that need some love that were passed on, and it was fun to kind of give them a second life. So that was really cool. And we ended up going back Saturday because that was each day it had like a descending price, so per day it could be $20, second day $15, third day $10. So we went back and we ended up finding a handful of the ones that we were looking for day one, and we picked them up for even cheaper. So we just kept calling ourselves the Frugal Gamers all weekend. Something different that we did an escape room, done escape rooms with friends and my wife Lisa. They were fun, and they had quite a variety. They had like cheap escape rooms for $18. That's the one we did, and they had various prices, so didn't know what to expect going into that, and it ended up having a really fun time. It was the four of us plus I think another 5 or 6 people. So that's always interesting doing an escape room with folks you don't know. When we do escape rooms, we kind of have a system.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and there were some very sharp people. Like, it was fun to play with them. But like when we do it on our own group, we always like assign jobs to people. So like somebody's the organizer, somebody's the cleaner, somebody's like, okay, you put the stuff away, you solve this puzzle, you go look for stuff under tables, etc. So it's a little more chaotic, not having a rule set going into it. But we had a lot of fun. We unfortunately didn't make it. Everybody kept walking past this backpack that you needed to unlock, and we had this key, and like nobody caught it, myself included. We just kept walking by. So we failed the escape room, but we had a lot of fun doing that. And then other than that, a lot of show floor walking. We didn't do too many events. We did like 2 like learn to play, ticketed events for like 2 indie games. We tried that out. That was neat. Something to do in the evening, after dinner. And then we did a majority of the time we're there was on the show floor. So we did a lot of walking, demoing. My friends demoed Gnome Hollow. I got to demo just a bunch of different stuff. Did my roving reporting, which you'll hear on the second half of the show of some of our favorite publishers and friends of the show. And day one, I ended up just stumbling over to, it was on my hit list to buy. It was the 10th anniversary edition of Sushi Go, just because, why not have every copy of Sushi Go, in the library? Why not? Yeah. So I saw a teaser for this in the BGG, GenCon list, and it had 10th anniversary. It comes in like this really cool bento box. So it's this large plastic box with a wooden lid, and it's got like a limited edition, number. This is like mine's 8,000, 515 of 10K. But it had some extra stuff in there. I won't spoil it for folks, so go check it out. So I was picked up, and as I'm walking in the booth, there's Eric Lang and Phil Walker Harding sitting there chatting next to each other. So I was able to walk up and say hello, and got a picture with them. So I was like, wow, 5 minutes in the convention, I already see Eric Lang and Phil Walker Harding. So how cool is that?
I saw that picture. Good picture.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool, seeing that. And then just, looking for stuff. I was looking, I'm not a big heavy gamer. I don't play like the really heavy stuff. So that's the people that, you see all the hype, and, I'm looking for fun card games, family friendly stuff, light to medium weight stuff. So I was on the hunt for that. So I've another fun place I checked out was CGE had a huge room up on the second floor. So we ended up playing a bunch of small card games. So another fun card game was called Snatch It. I would highly recommend folks to go check it out. It's just a little card game about frogs trying to eat up bugs released from Heidelberg from Germany. So that was the other neat thing. A lot more, Euro style games we're seeing, make it over to the States here. So I was able to get a copy of this game from Heidelberg, and they're a publisher I normally don't see over here.
Heidelberg is actually in agreement with Czech Games Edition. Czech Games Edition is going to start distributing their games in the United States. So
you do that would make sense. Why I found that copy there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then just, then the typical con stuff, you're walking around, seeing the sites, they always have the, massive amount of cosplayers there. So we saw some cool, Legend of Zelda, the Mario Patrol is always there. A bunch of random anime stuff that I didn't know, but the crafting that goes into making these costumes is just amazing. So that was pretty. I mentioned the balloon sculpture that they had this year was Gnome Hollow, themed. So that was
awesome. Like it looks.
Oh
so
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it was phenomenal, and I ended up talking to a bard that was playing next to. They always have these little bands playing random places, and I was talking to a guy dressed in a bard playing a lute for a couple minutes about the balloons. He was kind of watching it being built over the course of the show, and it was just amazing. And unfortunately I didn't walk through it. My friend did, and apparently they had lights and stuff I didn't know you could walk in, so I missed that opportunity of walking under the hollow to see. To see what they had in there. But my buddy went and they had some lights and some other, stuff within, the inside there. That would have been cool to see.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, the other fun thing we just did at night was a lot of gaming at the Lucas Oil Stadium. So if you haven't been to Gen Con, they rent out the Lucas Oil Stadium where the Indiana Colts play. Look at there you go, Andrew. I got a sports ball reference, right? I got the right team name. Yes. And, so yeah, the football stadium, they cover the grass or the AstroTurf that they play on there, and they just set up hundreds of tables. So we cruise there every night after dinner and just game till like 11 o'clock midnight, just playing a variety of different stuff, the stuff that we got from the hall or whatever. So it's pretty nuts playing on a football field. So that's quite the experience. So every night they're like, nope, let's go play. Instead of going to the hotel or a random, place to play in the, the gaming hall at Gen Con, we elected to keep going to the Lucas Oil. So comfortable seats and just, the atmosphere of sitting on the stadium of a football stadium playing, board games. It's, different than watching, an NFL game going on.
Soon soon.
Coming soon. Yeah.
Preseason is this week, so yeah, I don't know if they're home or away, but all right. Well, it sounds like you had an absolute blast as usual.
Yes.
Someday I will get to GenCon. I don't think it's happening this coming year either. Nate tried to step away. I think we're going to wrap it up. I think we're going to wrap up this half of the show. When we come back, you're going to hear a whole lot of Nick. He's going to be talking to a bunch of different people at GenCon with the buzz, of course, of the show in the background. And then we'll, I think Anish and I will be back to wrap it up. And that'll be the show this week. We will have a backtalk question second half of the show, so hang on for that because that'll be good. Nick, I really appreciate you coming on, talking a little bit about GenCon, doing the roving reporter thing. Hopefully you had fun, because I was certainly jealous from the wet forests of Massachusetts.
I think I definitely got the better end of the stick there. But yeah, it was a great time, and just it's always fun to get to meet some of our favorite publishers and our friends there and catching up and what you'll hear about all their new titles coming out and other fun surprises. So thanks for having me.
And we'll be right back.
This is a snap review for Paper App Dungeon from me
And me.
and me. Paper App Dungeon is an ultra-portable solo dungeon crawl game designed by Tom Brinton and published by Lucky Duck Games. The box says it's good for ages 8 and up, and it's super fast, usually taking no more than 5 minutes to finish a level. So, Elliot, what's notable about the art in this game?
Paper App Dungeon doesn't look like any other dungeon crawl game. It's this, small little notebook. Each page is a new floor of the dungeon, divided up into, little squares with symbols representing enemies, treasures, traps, and more.
You need a die to play.
No, you don't, Mom. It's on the pencil. There's a number printed on each side of the 6 sides, so you literally roll it to choose your next number. The game calls this a P6.
So there's some unique stuff here, but let's talk about how to play Paper App Dungeon. As soon as you open up the notebook, you'll see a link for rules. Skip that, because they're all right here in the notebook.
But don't forget to decorate your hero.
On every floor, you start at the smiley face. Roll a pencil to determine how far you'll move. Odd numbers mean a diagonal move, while even numbers mean that you can move orthogonally. That's left, right, up, or down.
Draw a straight line going exactly as many spaces as you rolled. You can only turn if you hit a wall, and you should avoid backtracking over the spaces from your last turn, if possible.
As you pass over symbols on your path, you'll gain and lose health and coins. You may also find locked doors and items that cause you to roll the P6 to determine just how much you'll lose, or gain.
There are also warp spirals that jump you to another part of the map. These are the only things that you can use more than once on the same floor.
When you get close to the stairs, you can choose to exit the floor. It's finally time to tally up your gains and losses. Transfer these numbers to the next page when you're ready to start another floor.
However, if you ended the level with 0 health or less, tally a death on the final page. Reset your health to 10 and your coins to 0, then start on the next floor.
Sometimes between floors, you'll find a shop page. This is a chance to spend your coins for all sorts of bonuses, like temporary invincibility, health upgrades, or the ability to walk through a wall.
That one's pretty cool. Each Paper App Dungeon has 45 floors and about 8 shop levels. When you reach the end, you'll find the treasure room, and a place to memorialize your character stats.
I haven't died once.
Hey, stop playing the game! We're making a video here! Let's tell everyone what we expected from Paper App Dungeon. Asher?
I had no clue what it was, so I didn't know what to expect.
I expected it to be like a classic dungeon crawl game, and I also expected it to be a little bigger.
Because of the size of the box?
Yeah.
As our followers probably know, I love small solo games. But I'm not a huge dungeon crawl fan. The concept here sounded fun, but I doubted it would hold my interest. I thought it would be a good draw for you boys, so we took turns on the first few levels just to try it out. So let's talk about what surprised us there. All 3 of us loved this game, and it was really hard to share. We got 3 more copies, so everyone could have their own adventure from start to finish. And all of these books are actually slightly different. There's a random number seed printed here in the front if you want to compare your book to someone else's. You can get a little stuck sometimes. The rules aren't super clear about how to change direction at a wall or what to do if your roll just doesn't work. I just give it my best guess and keep going.
Yeah, me too.
I was surprised at how easy it is to just pick up and play around.
It's a fun way to pass some time without a screen.
I did not anticipate what a great activity this would be in boring locations, like in the car, or on a plane, or waiting for one of your siblings' school concerts to start.
Or end.
It's so small and quiet you can do it just about anywhere as long as you have a place to roll the pencil.
It's a really nice alternative to burying your nose in a phone, which is probably why it's called Paper App.
We recommend Paper App Dungeon as a great way to pass the time for a kid or an adult.
You can bring it places you thought you'd never be able to play a board game, and play a level in 5 minutes or less. It's super portable and still entertaining. I end every page motivated to do better the next time.
And it's only $10.
What do you think, boys? Should we buy some more when you guys finish these?
Yeah!
We rate Paper App Dungeon 4.5 pencils out of 5.
And that's Paper App Dungeon
In a snap.
Hi, this is Nick with the Family Gamers. Day one on the GenCon floor. I'm here at Calliope Games with Chris Leader. How you doing, Chris?
I am better than I've ever been in my entire life.
Well, that sounds amazing. How do I get some of that?
I do not know. I if I could bottle it, I would sell it, and I would be rich.
All right, so tell me what you're excited about here at GenCon.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm excited that we have Patrician Towers of Influence here at Calliope Games. I'm excited for a ton of really fun releases that I've been walking around and seeing people with really cool games. So I think that's and the other thing is the people. I mean, I'm sitting here with Nick. Nick's awesome. I've got a booth. 2 of my sons are working the Calliope booth. I've got great people around me. I got great games around me. Life just couldn't be better.
I hear that. So let's talk a little bit about Patrician. That's just coming out, right?
Yes, Patrician is it's a reimagining of the original Patrician game by Michael Schacht. We didn't change a ton. We improved a little bit of the art. We kind of worked on the 2-player game, which was a little bit card county. You knew what the other person had. And we added in 2 expansions to the game that didn't exist in the core game before. They were only like online printable things that the designer had made. So this is sort of the definitive edition of Patrician, Towers of Influence. And it's a light Euro area control set collection game. What I like to say is it's a companion to our game Suro, the game of the past.
Yeah.
And it's a light Euro game, so I call it our Euro Suro.
There you go. I like that.
So that's what we're really excited about this year. Patrician is it's been very well received. It's a very approachable game, but it offers a real lot of kind of thinkiness when you really get into it.
Okay, and what's the age entry on that one?
It's 8 and up, so It's absolutely a game that anyone can play. It's just as you play it, or maybe as you get older, you'll start to see how you can kind of program your moves based on what you play, what cards you get, how to kind of do a few turns in a row, get some combos going. So it's approachable and anyone can play it, but the more you play it, or maybe the older you are, you kind of start to get into some of the depth of the game.
Oh, very cool. I'll have to check this one out. So we always like to ask you, what is new and coming in the pike for Calliope Games later this year?
We have 2 games actively in the works right now. One is called Day of the Brambles. That's a game concept by Peggy Brown. And it is a card flicking throwdown where you are playing as one player is some evil brambles that are taking over this 1950s Americana town. The other players are local heroes who are trying to wipe out those brambles before they take over all of the malt shop and the high school and all
awesome.
that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, you have goofy actions. You're flinging cards. So no one is perfect at that game because you just don't know. And you can play it on any game surface.
Okay.
So that one is going to be a blast. And then the other one is the Legends of the Monster Academy, which is a really big project we've been working on for years now. It's a collaboration between Mike Sellinger and Matt Forbeck. It's a cooperative, campaign-based game where you play as students at the Monster Academy. You're kind of ostracized monster kids, and now you sort of have to save the school and go on these different things. You play cards, you have to manage hazards that get in your way. So there's 2 boxes for that. There's the core box where you're in the school and there's an adventure, and then the second one is you're branching out into the whole city, kind of trying to save the world.
Yeah.
So it's 2 very, very ambitious games. We've been trying to lock that down for a while, and we're getting very close. So we're excited about those 2, and we got a lot more coming up after that, but those 2 are the ones we have on our mind right now.
Okay, cool. And then what has been a big seller here? What are you excited about, as far as, we talked about Patricia. Any other Calliope games here that you're also excited about to get in the fans' hands?
Four Corners was the game we released last year. That's doing really well. We're showing Four Corners. That's a ever-changing puzzle game. It's very, very cool with the plastic tray that came with Suro Phoenix Rising.
Oh, yes.
So you twist and rotate tiles and make patterns, and that one's really cool. That's doing really well. Hive Mind just continues to be a huge seller. That's our party game. Richard Garfield did that one, and Hive Mind is just beloved. I mean, that one is always a hit. We have our mainstays, Suro and Roll For It, are doing well, and a couple of the games we released during the pandemic keep getting like a newfound appreciation, which is fantastic. One is Enchanted Plumes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Card game where you're building the peacock plumes. That one, when people play it, they're like, how come I've never heard of this one before?
Yep.
Amazing card game. And then the other one is Mass Transit, which designed by me and Kevin Rogers, but that one is a cooperative game where you're trying to get people home, and it's like a subway map building game. So those 2 came out during the pandemic, and kind of no one really heard about them, but now they're starting to catch fire a little bit. So it's nice to see them here. This is the atmosphere where those games get to be seen, and people walk by and they see it on a table and go, what is this?
Yeah.
This looks really cool, and then they end up purchasing it. So, definitely Mass Transit, Enchanted Plumes, Four Corners is doing well, and then Hive Mind is amazing. So I'm so happy. I'm so grateful to work for a company that has a wide variety of games, and they're very, very accessible games that people walking past, we can give them a demo in about a minute, and they know everything they need to know about the game, and then they want to get it. So that makes me super happy.
Awesome. And then where could folks find you guys online?
We're in a van down by the river.
I love it.
No, we're at CalliopeGames.com. You can find our games there. We're on Amazon, and we're at all kinds of friendly local game stores out there. So look for Calliope Games, and we're on Facebook and whatever the heck certain other social medias are called these days. Yeah, you can find us there. But yeah, CalliopeGames.com, you can find us there and on Amazon too.
All right, well, thank you so much, Chris.
You are quite welcome. Enjoy your GenCon.
Thanks. This is Nick with the Family Gamers, Day 2 at GenCon. I'm here with Corey at Amigo. How are you doing today, Corey?
I'm doing great. Thanks for stopping by.
So what are you excited about here at GenCon this year?
So this year for GenCon, Amigo has a couple of new titles. So this is the first launch for our new kids game, Cloud Ship. It's a dexterity game where people pilot a cloud ship by picking it up and then dumping water droplets into the correct flower field. So it's got this nice little dexterity element to it. And so it's brand new for the show. We're also showing our Pick-a-Pen games, which are a series of roll and write games by Reiner Knizia. The big twist with these, instead of rolling dice, you're rolling the pencils. And the last thing we're really excited about, we have a new card game, Kabanga. It's one of those simple Amigo games that we're kind of known for. On your turn, you simply play a card to either side of a corresponding color. If there's a gap between the numbers, everyone else can get rid of their cards during your turn. The goal is to get rid of your cards first.
What are some other titles that Amigo's known for that maybe some of our listeners maybe haven't had a chance to play yet?
Oh, for sure. So Amigo has a couple games that are celebrating great anniversaries. So it's actually the 30th anniversary of our game Take 5 or Six Nymph this year. It's the 20th anniversary of Saboteur this year. We celebrated the 25th anniversary of our game Bonanza 2 years ago. And it's the 26th anniversary of our game No Thanks this year. We missed 25 last year.
Okay. Oh, I love that new edition of Bonanza. Is pretty blinged out.
Oh, for
the
sure.
metal coin in there and the little play mats in there are a great
Yep.
addition. And if I remember correctly, you have another version of Bonanza that was kind of reskinned, right, with Beth Sobel? Could you talk about that one?
Yeah, we did. So we last year we released a game called Bonanza Dahlias. It's a reskin of the game Bonanza with art by Beth Sobel, who's known for her games like Wingspan and Cascadia, fantastic arts. She actually reached out to us to work on it. It was kind of an interesting email to get into our inbox.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, she's a big fan of Bonanza, it turns out. So she was like, hey, would you ever do another version of Bonanza? We didn't have any plans, but the opportunity to work with Beth Sobel is just too good to pass up.
Oh, yeah, and I got to tell you, we're big Bonanza fans in my game group, but I brought that one to my family, and then it went over way better just because of the theme. Like, everybody liked picking flowers and all that over than, like beans, fighting each other in the garden.
It's for, a different audience, too.
Yeah.
It's a much, I don't want to say simple version of Bonanza. It's stripped down a little bit, so it's only the 3 to 5 player version. So it's a great introductory version. You're not pulling cards out of the expansions like we do here in the U.S. We do the 6 to 7 player expansion and all the base versions of Bonanza. So this kind of gives an opportunity to introduce it to new people and not overwhelm them.
Awesome. Is there anything new coming down the pike that you can talk about yet, or anything new?
Sure. So next year we'll be releasing a game. It's actually released in Germany. It will be an Essen title for Amigo Spiele, our parent company. But we have a game called 3 Chapters. It's a trick-taking game with a little bit of a twist. It's based off of Grimm's Fairy Tales. So the really interesting thing with it is you'll have all these different cards that interact together. You'll know which cards work together because they're all from the same story. So if you know the stories, you know the things that work great together. So you can kind of play them without having to read any of the cards or knowing how the game necessarily works. So it's a really great kind of in-between ground for a trick taker that you can introduce to new players and kind of get them into that genre.
Oh, very good. Okay, cool. Well, then can you tell us where folks can find you online?
Sure. You can find us online at amigo.games, or you can find us on Amazon, Instagram, Facebook, all those under the name Amigo Games.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm at Perplex with Chris. How you doing today?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
So how's your Gen Con been so far?
Been fantastic so far. We're over in the Family Fun Pavilion and right next to Ravensburger and rocking it over here.
Awesome. So what are you excited about as far as titles for Gen Con here?
Oh, man. Let's see. I picked up The Gang. I had to sneak over there and get that. That's really the only one I've kept my eye on. I've been at the booth most of the time here. So
I hear you, right?
Yeah.
All right, so what's new for you guys?
Well, we have set 3 of Pack a Game finally out. We've been kind of showing it off for the last year or two, and they're finally here. And more fun games. We took the long shot dice game and distilled it down into a pack.
Oh, really?
So that's been fun. Yeah, that's called Win.
Okay.
We have Bog, which is kind of a 2-player frog programming, hand management-y type thing. And then we're also happy to add Mad, which is a trick-taking game where the values can be positive or negative, and you're trying to zero out your score and the suits that you collect by the end of the game. So it's kind of fun to add some, freshness and new titles to the line.
Oh, very good.
So, yeah.
And then can you talk a little bit about Long Shot? That one's a huge hit with my game group. We're big fans,
yeah?
and we play with it a lot, yes. So,
Yeah.
So for our listeners that maybe haven't had a chance to play, you can tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so Long Shot the dice game kind of originated from like a redo of the original Long Shot the board game that came out back in 2009. And we just kind of wanted to freshen it up, make a little roll and write version, and make some changes. Been a great title for us. It really hits a sweet spot for people. I think it's kind of has a casual vibe, a little bit of a party vibe, but then there's enough strategy layers in there too that people are engaged and making enough choices to influence the race, right?
Yeah. Oh, then you get the hoot and holler. My group gets really excited about it. So you get the hoot and holler, just like, oh, come on, and
for sure.
Those fun moments in playing.
Yeah.
So is there anything else new that you could talk about that's coming out down the pike or later this year?
Nothing that I can talk about too much, but we're just happy to be here as usual. It's a great energy at this Gen Con. People are excited, and we're happy to have a new set of Pack of Games, so come check us out.
All right, very good. And where can folks find you online and find your games?
Yeah, packogame.com. You can go to perplex.com and find all our stuff.
All right, well, thank you so much. Have a great show.
Thanks. Same to you.
Day 2 at Gen Con with Brent from Grandpa Beck's Games. How are you doing today, Brent?
Doing super, having a great time.
Awesome. So what are you excited about? What's kind of jonesing you here at Gen Con?
The best thing about being here is seeing old friends that have been playing our games for years and meeting new friends and getting to get them started playing games together with their families.
Awesome. Are there any games that you've been excited here to take a look at while you're here?
Unfortunately, I've been in the booth the whole time. I haven't seen too many of them, but I know Hachette has one about Flight, which I was an airline pilot for my career. So
neat.
I've heard it's quite a popular game. It won the big award in Europe last year, so I might have to get that one.
Very cool. That was a total trick question. I always ask publishers just to see.
Well, unfortunately, usually we're stuck working in our booth,
Right.
and maybe we come in early before the thing opens and cruise the hall a bit.
Oh, okay, cool. Very good. So what are you excited about for Grandpa Beck's game here at GenCon? What's new and exciting from you guys?
We always have a couple new games, but we have a new one that's coming out in February called 3-2-1 Countdown that I'm quite excited about because rockets are really popular these days with Elon Musk and the Starlink and all that kind of stuff. And
all the NASA stuff going on
stuff.
Mars.
There's a lot of new things happening in space, which hasn't happened for a while. And so our new game is a fun, light game about space. It's kind of retro. The artwork is kind of retro. So looking forward from that year. But we have several new games this year as well. So this brings us up to 11 games currently, and number 12 will be out in February.
Okay.
And we've been in business 12 years, so it'll be 12 games in 12 years.
Oh, awesome. So what's the other new title for this year?
We have one called Toil and Troubles, and then Another Man's Treasure are the two newest games.
Okay, and how do those play?
Toil and Troubles is kind of a push your luck game. You're laying out cards in rows, and you're trying to get as many as you can before you bust. And there's different magical creatures, magical characters, and different magical items you're collecting in the magical forest. And so it's very beautifully illustrated, but it has a fun element that I had never played before of kind of laying out and trying to get as many as you can without going too far.
Oh, very cool. And then I know you, like you said, you've been in business for 12 years, publishing for 12 years. So what are some of our new listeners that maybe haven't heard of your games before? What are some of your favorite staples from Grandpa Beck's?
Certainly have to mention Cover Your Assets. That's the one that kind of put us on the map. And it's so easy to learn. In just a minute or two, you can learn how to play it. And yet people play it for years. And whether you're playing with 7-year-olds or 75-year-olds, everybody can enjoy it together. And people get really attached to those stacks of assets.
Awesome.
And then Skulking has become an international favorite. It's now in 20 languages, and it's going to sell 100,000 copies in French this year.
Oh, so, congratulations.
So it's really kind of fun to see it growing around the world.
That's exciting. And then so rumor has it, I remember it from the rule books, apparently if there's ever a rules question, they can reach out to somebody directly at the company?
The bottom of every box has my cell phone number on the box and on the back of the rule books. And so I get text messages and calls and photos all the time from people who just want to say hi, or they want to make sure that's really a real person who's on the back of the box, or they want to ask a question.
No kidding. So do you ever get odd rule questions, all hours of the night?
At night when I'm sleeping, I turn off my phone. So I respond to those the next day. But I do respond to every text message or email, and I take calls in person when I can, when I'm not on a plane or talking to somebody else.
I would say that's very unique. I've never heard that before from any publisher. That's cool. Personal touch. I
think I'm going for a record of the most people having my personal cell phone number.
Oh, man.
I just need to look up if there's a world record for that, because it's on about 2.5 million games so far, so I think I'm pushing the record probably.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much. And where can folks find the Grandpa Beck's online and your games?
Many stores, increasing numbers, but always on Amazon and on our website, grandpabecksgames.com. And if you want to get a discount, you can use the code GET15 for 15% off on our website.
Virus, well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. And the main thing is to build relationships by spending time together. It's not really about the game, it's about the relationships with your family and friends.
Exactly. That's what we're all about here at the Family Gamers. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a great time.
You too. Thanks. We're at day 2 at GenCon. I'm here with Mark from Grand Gamers Guild. How you doing, Mark?
I am exhausted, and it's only day 2, and my voice is not holding up.
You need to do like vocal exercise or something, because every convention we run into you always look like losing your voice.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm not quite sure why this is happening. It's not fun.
All right, so we'll keep it short and sweet for you this time around. So what are you excited about here at GenCon?
Well, I am excited about what seems to be universal enthusiasm for Tir na Nog. We pretty much have sold out of all of our copies that we're allotting to each day. We have 12 more for tomorrow. And yes, I said 12. A laughably small number. Because quite honestly, the Game Found campaign didn't do well. And I did not print very many more than what I thought I needed. Now that it is out in the world, it is killing it. Everyone wants it. I don't think I've heard a single bad word about it. Because of that, we're going to be launching a Kickstarter campaign for the reprint on the 13th of August. So
Awesome. Congratulations.
just a week and 2 days after Gen Con ends, we're diving right back into the crowdfunding.
Awesome. Cool. So what else do you have that's new here at the show?
Endeavor Deep Sea, which we've done in partnership with Burnt Island Games, is also on a daily allocation and is doing really well. Everything else, La Familia Ort, Words of a Feather, all the holiday hijinks games are, selling.
Totally setting you up here because we have a review coming from La Familia coming up pretty soon. So tell us a little bit about the game.
La Familia Ort is an extremely easy entry farming game. It's very prescribed. You're going to buy from the market, you're going to fertilize, you're going to water, you're going to sell. You do that over and over. Different crazy vegetables come up. It has this awesome, creepy, cute Tim Burton-esque artwork. But the game really takes place in watching what the other players are doing. And, of course, using your player powers at an appropriate time. I'll be honest with you, it's not getting a lot of good reviews, and I don't quite understand it.
Oh, my daughter loved it. I loved it. Well, I won't spoil you with what we're going to rate it, but we're really enjoying it.
Well, I am glad to hear that because I thought the game was absolutely charming, both in mechanics and in aesthetic, and I'm super excited to be the North American localizer. So, the gamers who play it seem to have an amazing time.
Yeah.
The reviewers, not so much, but I guess you are different from that, so that's awesome.
That's right. And how about holiday hijinks? I think I know some new ones coming out, or?
Absolutely. In the middle of October, we're going to be launching a Kickstarter campaign for the next 3 in the series. People are going to have the opportunity to pick up just a single unit, the 3 new units, or get the entire 12-unit set in a special collector's box. We're going to be pricing this really aggressively. We want to serve the fans who have supported us for the past 4 years, and we want to bring new ones into the fold. So if people are ready to dive into the Holiday Hijinks universe, that campaign is hopefully gonna be the reason why.
Very good. And then how about Endangered? I think you got some new stuff for the Endangered series out.
American Red Wolves is brand new, and coming in the new year, we will be doing Endangered Australia.
Oh, Australia.
Yep.
Ooh, can you spoil what kind of animals will be there?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have koalas, toads, and the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, very cool. Well, where can folks find you online?
Google Grand Gamers Guild and pretty much everywhere. At my website, via email, via Facebook, you are pretty much talking to me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark.
I appreciate you giving me some time.
Thanks. All right, day 2 at GenCon. I'm at Happy Camper Games with Jason. How you doing, Jason?
Good. Nice to see you.
So what's been exciting for you for GenCon this year?
Oh my God, we're all about Trio at this show. People are just loving this game. The fact that it's easy to get into and play, that it's great for families, good for all ages. It's been the kind of game where people just come in, they play it, they go right to the register and they buy a copy. It's got that kind of viral nature to it.
So can you explain some of the mechanics for our listeners that maybe haven't had a chance to play it yet?
Absolutely. So it's a game that's all about 3 of a kinds. The deck is 36 cards big, and it's numbers 1 through 12. Every number is in the deck 3 times. You shuffle it up, you deal some cards on the table, and then some cards go into players' hands. On your turn, you get to look at 2 cards every time, either from the middle or by asking a player to see a card from their hand. But the main constraint is that you just can't see any card, like in a game of Go Fish. In this game, you can only see their highest or lowest card. And that constraint really makes a delicious tension as the game goes on, because there's limited information that you can get as the game progresses. First player to 3 of a kind wins the game, or first person to find the 3 golden 7s wins, but they're really hard to find because they're stuck in the middle of the game in people's hands until the end when they come out. It's a great catch-up factor.
Yeah, and my favorite mechanic is you can only either play your cards from the left or the right, the high or low, so you have to kind of work your way strategically into the middle if you have those 7s, or just try to work your way through.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, I think, of the game. And when we playing with friends and stuff, it's just like all those laugh out loud moments when, like, I thought you had something, you go to flip over a card in the middle, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, no, it's the wrong card. So there's a lot of those moments in that
Totally.
game.
And I love the fact that there are these 7s that are always there. They're tempting. They're really hard to find, but every once in a while a moment will happen where someone finds them and just somebody gasps, because they're very rare to get.
Yeah. And I love that it's such a family-friendly game. I'm like, my 11-year-old, my 15-year-old, you can play with any kind of age group. It's a lot of fun.
It's a great party game too, because it's like it goes up to 6 players.
Yep.
So you really get a bunch of people around the table, and the number of people who said like, oh, we played this game all night. Like, we were going to play a heavier game. We went up playing Trio for like 2 hours.
Yep.
Happens over and over again. So
I've been there too.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
So is there anything you could talk about coming up soon from Happy Camper that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, thanks. Sure. Later this year, I'm going to have a game coming out called Combo, which is a semi-cooperative family-style rummy or poker game where you're working both together and alone to build out a cooperative hand in the middle of the playing area. On your turn, you're going to play out a card, which is both a number and a suit. and you're going to be building out to 5 different combos. Ultimately, when everybody's played out 2 cards, you're going to look at the table and you're going to make the best possible combo available according to the chart in the game. If your cards were part of that, you score it. But if you're not, you're out. So it's an interesting tension as it builds on. You really need your opponents to help you out, to build out to that combo. But at the end of the day, all you really care about are your own cards.
Very cool. Where can your fans find you online?
Happycamper.games. HAPPY camper.games. Or online, Instagram or socials at happycampergames.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you. Have a good show.
Thanks. GenCon Day 2. I'm here at NV Board Games with Matthew. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm just happy to be here, to be honest.
How has the show been for you so far?
So far, it's been great. Have had a lot of people come over and buy our tiny games and fanny packs, so that's very exciting for me.
Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so we have a tiny game series line. That's what we specialize in. All of the games have different themes and different mechanisms, and we're coming out with 3 new ones next year as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about those, if you can?
Yeah, sure. We're actually teasing one of the prototypes today. It's called Dragon Roost. It's actually designed by Henry Audubon, the creator of Cosmoctopus and Parks, and he co-designed it with Chris Kingsnorth. But that one is a 1 to 6 player cooperative dexterity game where you have baby dragons that you have to stack on a tower and make sure they balance properly, and then their mother dragon as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So right in front of us, I see Confusing Lands. I think this is one of your newer ones, too. I remember seeing this in the GenCon preview. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, Confusing Lands is game 4 in the Tiny Game series. They're all actually numbered, which is fun.
Okay.
So you got to collect them all.
Right, totally.
But Confusing Lands has been really well received. We got a few expansions in the work for it as well. But it is basically a tile placement game, aka card placement game, where you are building out your own floating world in the sky with cards. Each time you place a new card in it, you have to cover up a previous part of your world. And you also are given scoring conditions throughout the game that you have to try and synergize around with the cards that are being handed to you.
Oh, very cool. And then I see behind you also have some larger box games. Can you tell us about the one that we're looking at, Kalahari?
Kalahari is the best thing ever. Kalahari's been in development for 2 years. We actually were working on that before we started going the tiny game direction. But it is a area control game with meerkats in the Kalahari Desert. So meerkats are actually a matriarchy. So you take on the role of a meerkat queen, and you are trying to control the most valuable areas of the Kalahari. And during the game, there's different actions you can take to manipulate other players' pieces or swap with them, move them around, and things like that.
Very cool. And where can fans find you online?
Any social media with MV Born Games, that's ENVY, Born Games. Mostly I stick to TikTok because it's just fun there. But I have a website, I have Instagram, I have Facebook, all that stuff. So.
And where can our listeners find your games?
nvborngames.com or Amazon.
Well, we're good. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for talking to me.
Man, every year when Nick goes to Gen Con, I get more and more jealous, and I swear, we talked about those balloon gnomes. I really wish that I could have seen those in person. Of course, some great interviews with all sorts of folks at the show. Thanks so much to Nick for being our Gen Con roving reporter. But that's it. That's the Gen Con wrap, Anitra.
It was a lot. Once again, makes me a little bit sad that I'm not there, but mostly happy that I'm not there.
Okay.
It just sounds like too much.
I'm a little bit more extroverted than you are.
A little bit,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. All right. We mentioned top half of the show that we did have another back talk question for everybody, and that's true. So
yeah. So I had talked about finally playing Sagrada after being at the Sagrada Familia a month ago. So that's the basis for this week's question. Have you ever played a game at a location that it's based on? Or has a trip ever motivated you to play a certain game? Or vice versa? Have you ever played a certain game and then been like, wow, I really have to see this place? I'm going to say we have to go see the Greek city of Santorini at some point. It has been decreed.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say bonus points if you manage to play the game in the place.
Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so there's a YouTube channel, Above Board TV, where they do a lot of crazy stuff like that. Like, they played Apiary while covered in bees.
All right, cool.
They've done a bunch.
Weird,
they play board
cool.
games like At a Volcano, like a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
So we're not asking for that kind of crazy stuff.
Not quite that level.
played a game related to a place where you also have a connection to the place.
Mm-hmm. So we are going to post that question in the Family Gamers Facebook community. You can get there by going to thefamilygamers.com/community or going to Facebook and just searching for the Family Gamers community.
We're also going to post it in the Family Tabletop community on Discord. If you need an invite to get there, go to thefamilygamers.com/Discord.
But of course, you can find us all over social media. You can find us on Facebook, on X, on Threads, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube at Family Gamers AA.
I highly recommend you go to YouTube and watch the video that we made for Paper App Dungeon. I had a lot of fun with the boys doing that one.
I'm kind of jealous that you got to do that. I still have not played that game yet.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a solo game. That makes it hard.
Of course, you can always send us emails. You can email me, Andrew, at thefamilygamers.com.
Anitra at thefamilygamers.com.
Check out our Family Gamers and Play Games with Your Kids merchandise. You can find t-shirts and hoodies, mugs, and more at thefamilygamers.com/merch.
Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. And if you like it, tell your friends about the podcast. You could even tell strangers by leaving a review of the podcast at the Apple place or wherever else it is that you subscribe.
The Family Gamers is sponsored by First Move Financial. Go to firstmovefinancial.com/familyggamers to learn how the team over at First Move Financial can help you pile up the victory points.
Well, we forgot the monthly roundup, but this podcast is long enough already, so let's do that next time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we forgot it, Bob, but this podcast is long enough already.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to play some more games, and we'll share those with you very soon. So until then, everybody, play games with your kids.